Can you hear me? Good morning. I think people are getting fatigued now. That is why maybe the audience is kind of now shrinking. But nevertheless, thank you for coming. My name is Joel Konopo. I am a journalist from Botswana. I am former editor for a newspaper called the Botswana Guardian. It's a weekly. I think I started INK with my colleague sitting here, INK Centre for Investigative Journalism in 2015, basically out of the concern that, which is a general concern I think around the world, that serious journalism is now beginning to lose a lot of interest, especially among the corporate interest. So these big newspapers, they tend now to focus on small stories, on press releases. Investigative journalism looks like it's very expensive for them, time-consuming, dangerous, risky, so they don't give it attention. So we got frustrated a bit and actually resigned without savings to start a non-profit investigative center. So basically that's how the center was established in 2015. It does three things basically. It does journalism in public interest, and it does advocacy, which is fighting for the information rights of investigative journalists in Botswana mostly, and skills transfer, which involves training and internships around the region mostly. So basically we've got three pillars. That is what we basically do at the center. Many people I know would have very little knowledge about Botswana because it's a small country in southern Africa, very quiet, shares a border with a very much known country, South Africa and Zimbabwe, for different reasons. Botswana is the size of France in terms of geographical size, but in terms of population, very small. Relatively wealthy in terms of the fact that it has got one of the largest deposits of diamonds in the world, and also has got Big Five game, which is favored by many tourists, especially from Europe. For that reason, the country, because of the small population, has got a very relatively higher GDP per capita. I think the second highest after Mauritius in Africa, if not the third highest. But country has got its own challenges, as you can imagine. It has been independent since 1966, so it's dominated by one political party, really, that has been winning elections over and over and over. So there is obvious complacency. When one party wins, sometimes with huge margins, it then becomes a challenge because they look like they will rule forever. So they really realize that there isn't serious competition from the colleagues. So there is very weak civil society, including the media, like independent media. The opposition is extremely weak at the moment. So that is some of the things that make it the ruling elites become so complacent. When there is a critical voice, they sometimes even introduce advertising ban to those who are critical against the government. So, and because of the poor civil society, there will be no repression, there will be nothing, and life goes on. The president, who has been president since 2008 until March this year, has been President Khama. He's the son of the former founding president in 1966. So really, he grew up in what we call the state house, really. He has known power since then. He knows privilege. His mother is British. So he's half Botswana and half British. He studied in a military school in the UK. He became brigadier at age 24, probably one of the youngest brigadiers in the world then, and grew through the ranks from brigadier to become the commander, and left to be requested, as he puts it, to come and save the ruling party there. So he has this kind of privilege. He always thinks things should be given direct to him. So as he was preparing to leave office, he constructed a holiday home and a big airstrip in central Botswana. But the challenge was he was using public resources. He was using the military and taxpayers' money to do so. So that was the biggest problem. So ordinarily, at a place called Musu, which is very small, which is area also earmarked for wildlife, so in central Botswana. So government declined that there is a project going in the bush, and what they did was they actually said, including the civil aviation, they said there's nothing like that since 2013. So there have been constant denials that there's no project going on in the bush. So we, as journalists, we developed a lot of curiosity. And in 2017, that is when the military sources started telling us that the project is escalating because he's just about to leave office, so he was increasing the project. So we became curious and went to investigate the nature of the project. And we were unlucky because it appears there was surveillance on us by the maybe spy agency in the country. We traveled for around 600 kilometers. When we were just 5 kilometers to the compound, which is in the bush, there was an ambush, and 7 men driving SUVs appeared in the bush, covering their faces, shouting and all that. So they knew we were coming, it appears, and they looked like they were ready really for a showdown with us. So what happened was we just wanted to verify what was happening, but they were ready to threaten us and confiscate our laptops and phones and cameras, and interrogated us for around 2 to 3 hours before they drove us back out of the village. I think around 60 kilometers out of the village, returned our stuff and allowed us to go back. So we went to report, but nothing happened because we understand. I think there is a lot of protection towards the ruling elite. So after reporting the matter, we thought, but then how could you then continue to tell a story if there's that kind of barrier whereby you can't proceed to cover it? So we thought about several ideas as to what to do really, and one of them was maybe we should acquire a drone to take it to the compound and see what to do, whether something will come out. But it looked like it required training. We didn't have a drone then, so we started thinking the other option would be maybe a helicopter. But it was dangerous because the helicopter would obviously make noise, and we are talking about the military in Africa, and I think they'll easily engage it. And we thought maybe we should have a source inside, but it was also extremely risky and almost impossible because of the pervasive level of fear within the military and within the country. So we did a bit of research, and we established that, okay, we can actually commission a satellite company to go take a picture of as long as we have the coordinates, can go take the picture of the residence and the airstrip. So the first company, a local reseller, we approached, agreed, but 2 days they told us they can't do it. I think it was also the issue of surveillance, and they were warned. So we had to engage a South African company to do that for us. So in March now, the company was able to take an image an image of the residence. But it was expensive because we are a startup, we are an NGO, so it's very difficult to raise $5,000 to pay for an image. So, but we nevertheless we had to do it. So they agreed to capture a high resolution image. Yeah, we were so lucky to have that. But again, there were challenges like concerns that maybe we are intruding into the law, maybe that area is protected, because government was claiming it's protected. But with the help of a lawyer, it appears we are not in the wrong. So we proceeded with the image. So here is us at work at the center, working on the image with a topographer that we engaged to help us interpret the images. We used Google Earth Pro to help measure the size in real terms, to get to know what could be the length of the airstrip, to get to know what could be the size of the entire compound. So Google Earth had actually taken the, as you can see, had taken the image, I think, in 2010, when they were doing their imaging in Africa then. So it was helpful in the sense that it gave us an impression to measure the level of development, to see how it has progressed. So we were able to have a Google Earth picture for 2010 and for 2012. There is a bit of changes here. You can see these two white buildings. There is the third one in 2012. So there was a bit of construction, but it wasn't significant until we engaged the company in South Africa to take the image. And this is what we found. We found that there is military presence around the compound. If you look at the left corner there, those are trucks. Those are military trucks, and there appear to be other trucks this side. There appears to be quite a lot of significant development into the compound. So we thought, okay, now this is what we've been looking for, and this is what we got arrested for. The airstrip doesn't appear here. It was not complete in terms of it was not tarred at the time when they took the picture. But when we measured it at a later stage, it turned out to be a big airstrip. Actually, it's 1.6 kilometers, so it can land a significantly larger aircraft. And we couldn't establish the cost because the military wouldn't share that with us. And the other challenge was that the military was always, because there's no access to information laws, so there's no how you can actually go further to establish, even when the issue is clearly in the public interest. So we realized that the compound was significantly larger than it was previously thought. We established that really it appears there's been significant improvement since 2013 when we heard about the project. So our conclusion was that technology can be used to serve transparency, can be used to inform the audience, especially in areas like in Botswana, like in Africa, where it is not easy to get access to certain areas just because the authorities, they want to protect their interests. So that is what we did, and this was in 2017. Now we've got more experience. We are able to now even operate drones. We are able to have contacts with people who can actually get even much better images and interpret them much better. It was pretty short. It was a pretty short presentation, and thank you for your attention. I'll be pleased to take questions if any, and my colleague here will be able to assist me. Yeah.
As a new NGO, as an organization, how do you get the word out about your story? Do you partner with established media organizations? How do you do that?
Yeah, we We have publishing agreements with major newspapers in the country. We publish with other major newspapers in South Africa, which is very significant because South Africa is a bigger economy, has got a larger population, and they've got increasing interest in what is happening in Botswana. So we work with big papers like the Sunday Times in South Africa and the Mail and Guardian, which is really a very influential newspaper. Online presence, we work with the Daily Maverick, which has got a daily presence a big presence online. So basically, we are that. But we don't get paid for even for working hard and spending 5,000 to get a story. That is the sad part, because newspapers always show you their bottom line and say, we don't have money, but we like your story. And it has been happening for 3 years. Thank you.
You said you're collaborating with South African newspapers. Have you thought about collaborating with South African investigative journalism centers, like Amabungane, for example?
Yes, we do. We actually, currently we have an intern with Amabungane right now. We are both fellows from Amabungane. We get a lot of training from those guys who run Amabungane. But generally, we have been able to expand to beyond Amabungane. We work with OCCRP in Romania a lot, and ICIJ, and other centers in Southern Africa, in Nigeria, and in Malawi and Lesotho. So we are able to, we've got a very big presence in terms of collaboration. We have done stories and published with newspapers like The Namibian in Namibia. We have worked with the Malawian media when we were doing Panama Papers. So we've got presence in the region. And I think around the world. Thank you.
Thank you, that was fascinating. I have 2 questions. Question number 1, maybe you said it, but I didn't get it. How are you financed? And question number 2, can you maybe talk a bit more about press freedom in Botswana? You briefly mentioned there's a ban on advertising in critical media, so I'm wondering like how does it work? What's the media landscape like?
Oh yeah, maybe the finance part first. We are non-profit and we get finance from Open Society Foundation. There's an organization called OSISA in Johannesburg. That is our major funder. But we also get support from different organizations like National Endowment for Democracy in Washington, and Thomson Reuters Foundation has helped us a lot with training. I don't know whether I forget other institutions that are significant, but we get different kind of in-kind support and financial support from different institutions, but mostly it's Open Society Foundation. The media landscape in Botswana is such that it has deteriorated since 2008 when the military guy came in. Initially, when he was the commander, he had banned certain media houses from entering the army base because he did not agree with their reporting. So he took that attitude to the presidency, and he's a strong fan of Donald Trump only on one issue, on fake news. He agrees with him totally, but doesn't agree with him on a lot of other things. So it goes to show how much he has got his own disdain for media. He has been on record several times saying he doesn't read. He doesn't like reading. He prefers going out into the wild. As you can see him, he was just on a robe. He prefers physical activities than sitting down, reading a book, as he puts it. So it's kind of an attitude by a person. Then it has permeated the entire cabinet and senior civil service in the country. So because there are no laws that promote access to information, journalists rely on the goodwill actually of civil servants. The private sector has also bought the idea that the media generally lies, especially the private media. So it becomes a challenge, really. I think as for investigative journalism, it's worse because it exists in an environment that it's just designed to fail, because to make it fail, because if there are no laws that gives you access to information. Most of the time, you have to speculate or rely on faceless sources, and then you feed into this thing by the president that the media lies, the media writes people without names, the media really is just big fake news. So basically, that is the situation that we are in, whereby if the president says something, the entire country believes him because the private media is too small, the state media is big, and it has got complete outreach in rural areas. So you can publish your story using our platform. It will be read by few elites in the capital city and in other towns. But 99% of the people would see the rebuttal from government, and they will believe it. So there is need for a change of mindset, and it's a struggle to convince most people in rural areas that there is an alternative voice. This is not the only voice from government.
Can you follow the money trail? I mean, where does the money come from to build this compound?
Yeah, thank you. This one was easy and straightforward. It was public resources from the military, from the Botswana Defense Force. What they did was they used their development budget to construct the residence for the president, and they find it very easy to defend him. Actually, we interviewed an outgoing commander, and he said, yeah, we had to construct an airstrip for him in his private residence because we've been spending a lot of money dropping him off when he wants to come here at a further place where there is an airstrip, and then we had to spend a lot using another helicopter to bring him here. So we thought we should just construct an airstrip for him here. So you can see it was a straight punitive kind of way of doing things, whereby they know nothing will happen to them. He has been in the army, so they treat him as their boss, like their commander, not like commander-in-chief, but like immediate boss, because they still have that connection with him. So I think his orders, they just go, and I think it's very easy that way.
Hi, my name is Isabel. I'm a student at the University of Amsterdam. Thank you so much for this very interesting presentation. I wanted to ask you, you started explaining that at the beginning you were ambushed and threatened to death. How did you make sure to stay safe when you were doing the investigation, and also after when the story came to light? Weren't you afraid that maybe they would actually, the threats would actually happen, or they will continue to be against, following you or ambushing you?
I don't know whether Timian wants to take the question. How do we keep ourselves safe? We try by all means. First, we were surprised that we were ambushed because we had actually ensured that we don't tell anyone, because we are aware the intelligence community is quite strong in terms of following what journalists are doing. So we're just trying to be as quiet as we can get. So we're extremely surprised and disappointed that how did this leak? What we at least hope for is that it won't get worse than being questioned and asked to go back. Our biggest fear was like maybe getting harmed. It has never happened. It has been quite very insignificant, very small beatings in Botswana, unlike in Zimbabwe where there are like thorough beatings and at times journalists getting disappearing. We are not there yet, and our concern is it looks like we will if we don't put pressure on government to respect the right of the journalists to do their job. So we try to improve our physical security in the office, whereby we use this simple access control, and we improve online security, but we can only do much. We are dealing with a state which has got limitless resources. But we also try to be careful as individuals, as we, where we go, how we do what we do, and we ensure that we don't reveal as much as we really hide what we are doing most of the time to people we don't trust. And at times we get a break-in despite the challenges. We had a break-in towards the end of February. And it was surprising that we were doing a story, we had done a story on something linked to intelligence, and we had a visit by senior police officers from the Crime and Intelligence Division. They paid a visit on Wednesday. On Friday there was a break-in. Nothing was taken. They broke into the cabinet, but there were laptops that they were not taken. So we can only suspect that it is them really. But we try, we really try. We don't want to sit back and say, oh my goodness, these people are going to shut us down, because we ensure that as long as we want to be as safe as we want, but we also want to keep a face and show them that we are going to be doing our work, but we try to do it, follow the right channels, and we try to really give them time to respond. It's not like we are out to get them, really. Yeah.
And for your sources, for example, the commander you said that talked to you about this affair, or do you have any way of protecting them, and did they feel any consequence after talking to you?
The former commander, he was basically defending the decision to build the airstrip. So I don't think he was under any pressure, really. I think he was defending the status quo. So, but it was surprising that he was willing to talk. But generally, we have sources within the intelligence and within the military. But as you know, we try to really protect them and make sure that we don't keep contact as much as we can to really ensure that nothing happens to them, because we know what may happen to them if it happens that they get to know who they are. Yeah.
And what were the consequences of that story, the story about the military compound? Any sort of reactions from the government, and has it been published yet?
Oh yeah, it was published in South Africa, I think Daily Maverick, and locally in Botswana, and it was picked by, I think, OCCRP. But your question is really the impact. The stuff that we do, does it have an impact on society? It does, and also it doesn't, largely. It does because a certain group of people will express outrage, and the opposition, weak as it is, it will go start raising questions, specific questions in parliament, and we would get very little answers out of that. But you could see they want to really get involved in holding authorities accountable. But it doesn't also because the large part of the population wouldn't have known about the story, because they rely on state media, which is big TV and 2 radio stations and a newspaper called The Daily News, which is free and distributed in every small community, and it will never have anything of that nature. So we are not just wallowing in self-pity that we don't reach out, especially when it comes to the impact, reach out to communities that we want. We are working currently with Open Society to repackage the news that we are doing in the local language. We think it will be an innovative approach to really reaching out to hidden communities. And we also want to have a short form investigation, because we also agree that investigative stories can be too elitist sometimes. Just people don't want to be engaging long form kind of in most cases. So we try to write them shorter. We are learning about the technology to make them more exciting. and try to reach out even to younger audience, because we believe we don't want to lose out, because we believe what we are doing is a just cause. Thanks. So you can check our website, and there will be several stories relating to the incidents, because it was about the compound and about the general, about other stuff that. Thanks a lot.